Hey, welcome back to another episode of the She's Making an Impact podcast. I'm your host, Terra DeMerchant. Today, we are going to be talking about counting our blessings. So if you look up the phrase count, like what does it mean to count your blessings? I just kind of Googled it, and one of the online dictionaries said, if you tell someone to count their blessings, you're saying that they should think about how lucky they are instead of complaining. Today, friends, we are not talking about luck here, okay? We are talking about the fact that the hand of God is at work in each one of our lives, and we need to just take the time to recognize it. Philippians chapter 4, verse 8 from the New Living Translation says, "And now, dear brothers and sisters, one final thing. Fix your thoughts on what is true and honorable and right and pure and lovely and admirable. Think about the things that are excellent and worthy of praise." So recently, my husband and I had the opportunity to do some songwriting with over in Nashville with one of our friends. His name is Jonathan. We've actually known Jonathan since he was 14, and we were talking about it with him. He's like 28 now, so we've literally known him for half of his life. And we've moved to Tennessee a couple of years ago, and so we're really only like about 2.5 hours from him. And we've had the opportunity to go over and do some songwriting with him about once a quarter for the last year. And this is really one of those stories that if you, back in episode 460 here on the podcast, I talked about Galatians chapter 6, verse 9, where it says to not grow weary in doing what is right, in well-doing, right? Because in the right season, you're going to reap a harvest if you don't faint. And this is really one of those stories because with Jonathan, my husband and I had moved to Alabama. We were serving at a church there, and my husband really just felt this calling to invest in the next generation of worship leaders and people who are making an impact in the kingdom. And so one of the things that we would do is we had our worship team, and we would ask them what they were interested in and how we could help serve them. And Jonathan was interested in songwriting. And so that's something that my husband and I have done. And we started teaching him about songwriting, and we would just like break everything apart. So we can go into that another time. But so Jonathan has taken the things that we had invested in him and throughout the years, and he's signed with Capitol. And so when we were over there this time, he just had his first #1 hit and on radio single. And it just happened in the US, like within the last, I think he's on week maybe number 4 of it being #1. And but it happened in Brazil. He was sharing with us these cool stories and videos in Brazil this last fall, where there's just like all these people singing this song. And the song is known, the artist is Seth Schleter. And Jonathan was one of the songwriters on this song. And it's called Counting My Blessings. So Jonathan, we were just talking about his life and about this song and where it came from. And, he had worked really hard over in Nashville because, it's hard to break into the music scene over there. And so he was like doing other jobs and doing the thing that he had the opportunity to do. Right. And he had just signed with Capitol, and he was so excited, like thinking, I get to go and I get to songwrite now. And I don't have to do these other jobs. I get to go songwrite. And that's kind of where, for him, where this started was the counting my blessings. And he and his wife are expecting their first child. And so Lance and I, we took him a cookie cake and had counting my blessings with music notes and a baby rattle. And we're just so excited for him. And he's evidence in our life, and it's a reminder in our life of being faithful where you are. We had no idea when, back, oh goodness, however many years, 14 years ago, right? We had no idea that just being faithful in those moments, in the youth room, having him over to our house and practicing writing songs and taking him to Nashville for his first time that he ever got to go. And, we had no idea what God was going to do in his life because of us being faithful to what God had called us to do at the time in our lives. And it's so cool looking back now, seeing God's hand in all of that. And so this song that he was a writer on is called Counting My Blessings. And because we just got back from writing with him, that's what's on my mind and my heart today. And I was thinking about why should we count our blessings? And here's just quick 5 reasons why I think that we should count our blessings. Number 1, it shifts our mindset. So from this negative, it's really easy in this world to be negative and to think about all of the things that are going wrong. Well, when we start really thinking about the blessings that are in our lives, it shifts our mindset from negative to positive. And when that happens, our whole perspective changes, and then it influences everything else about the way that we're seeing life. That's number 1. It shifts our mindset. Number 2, it helps us to actually notice what's happening in our lives. Sometimes even challenges can be blessings. Like I've shared, my husband has an eye disease. Well, it's easy to think about that as a negative thing in our lives where, it's given us an opportunity to be able to spend a lot of time together. It's given us an opportunity to be able to learn how to be partners better and to work together and to spend, time when other people might be shifting and going, one person going here, one person going there. We're very dependent on each other because of the challenges that we face in our lives. So even just taking the time to start thinking about what is happening in my life that is actually a blessing. So it helps us to notice the things when we stop and we start thinking, taking the time to think about what the blessings are. That's number 2. Number 3, it fills us with gratitude. Because when we start counting all of the things that God is doing in our lives, all of the things that are around us, that every single day, even if you get down to the fact that we have air to breathe and our heart, my heart is beating without me telling it to beat. I got up this morning, I was taking our son to school, and there was just the moon was, how sometimes it shows up during the day, and it was just really pretty in the sky. And those are things that I've noticed today, thinking about, what are the things that God has done in my life? And it fills us with gratitude to be able to have a thankful heart. And when we do that, number 4, it does create that positive attitude because gratitude spills into our attitude, right? And so when that happens, it influences every person around us because instead of us being negative to them, it actually gives us a positive vibe so that we can be an encouragement to them instead of a downer. Instead of pulling them down, we can lift the others up around us. And then last, number 5, it really gives us a hope for the future because when we start to think about all of the blessings that are in our lives, all of the things that God has done, that family is around us, that people have done for us, the things that we have, when we stop taking them for granted and we start thinking about those, it gives us hope for the future that if all of these things have happened in my life now that I can be thankful for, this is going to happen in the future too. Is life easy? No, life's not easy. Of course, there are difficulties, there's challenges, there's things that we face. But when we will take the time to actually start writing down, and I just want to encourage you, take out a sheet of paper or on your phone, pull up a Google Doc or a Google Sheet, start making a list. Just start with 10. But I think you'll find if you start with 10, you'll go, oh, I can do this. And you keep going. And so you'll hit 25 really quick. And then let's make it a goal to go for 100. But as we do that, it shifts our mindset so that we can do what it says in Philippians chapter 4, verse 8 for us to do, to think about the things that are excellent and worthy of praise. And I think that we'll notice around us that things shift when we start focusing on the blessings that are in our lives. So I want to encourage you too. If you have not downloaded Rachel's resource, Who God Says I Am, just go to rachelngom.com/Who God Says I Am, and be sure to sign up to get that, because we've got an audio and we also have a PDF that you can download. And those, as I was just looking through it this morning, before I recorded this for you, and there's lots of these verses that we can just really be thankful for. I am holy and without blame before him in love. That is a blessing. I have the mind of Christ. That is a blessing. So for me, when I think about what would go on my list, number one, the first thing that I wanted to write down was the fact that Jesus offered life to me through his death. That is a huge blessing. And then number two, that I've been born into God's family because I've accepted his gift of salvation. That's a blessing. Not everybody who knows that Jesus has offered their life, his life for them, has accepted him. I've done that. And I've received that gift of salvation. And so number three, I'm assured of eternal life. And so those are just the first three things on my list that I started writing down this morning. As always, reach out to me. I'd love to pray with you. If you have something going on in your life and you want to talk about spiritual things, you need somebody to pray with you about something going on, please feel free to shoot me a text, 865-309-4737, and just reach out. We're here to support you, not only in your business journey, but in your relationship with the Lord. And I look forward to connecting with you along the way and being back here next Friday. Have a great week.